Welcome back, everybody. We are here once again, ready for the next game. And joining me is going to be none other than Liquid Rhett and Targa. We've swapped Bling out, given him a little bit of a break. And we've got the very knowledgable Rhett.
Yeah.
How are you finding it?
It's nice. It's nice and cool here, actually. It's not like sitting away in a dark, tucked away corner in a cinema. Yeah, I like it. It's more relaxed.
How have you found the venue and everything else?
Honestly, I think it's amazing. Like playing in a cinema, I did it once actually. It was great. It's amazing to just look up and see the crowd. And you know, if it does get really packed today, then we'll probably have an amazing atmosphere. But I think overall, to have an esports arena in the cinema is pretty brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. So now the game we are going to be seeing next is going to be Hearts taking on Hydra. Kind of up in the air game. I'm not sure how I would call it personally, but you are the guys with the knowledge. So what are your thoughts on this?
Should I start?
Yes, go on. Targa's ready and prepared.
I actually know a lot about them. I watch quite a lot of Hydra's games.
Yep.
He has a very interesting way of playing. The way I see it, he has like maybe two standard builds against Terran. One is a roach thing he does against mech players, and the other one is like fast Spire, fast Mutas from 2 bases. He adds his 3rd base, he continually adds queens. Once he gets his mutas out, drones away, gets a 4th base, more drones, and it's just attack. And once he gets 2-2, he hits a big timing. And Hart, on the other hand, he's more, how should I say it, like a little bit of gimmicky player.
Okay.
I played against him in the qualifier. I also saw his games against Jaedong, and he's a Hellbat guy. And Hellbats usually does very well against Hydra's build because he doesn't have a Baneling Nest. He doesn't make a spine. He only relies on queens and lings. We saw Bunny though. He failed with the Hellbat build against on Catalina.
And so another Terran, I think Fantasy also failed really hard against Hydra. He just has like 4 or 5 queens and the spine.
Yeah.
And even though as I was commentating this game, so I was like, this is going to be really tough. He just crushes Hellbats in the beginning. It's really interesting. So that makes it really comfortable for him to, like you said, play that 2-base muta, which he really seems to love doing, and he's been doing it the whole tournament, and it just gives him like so much map control in the beginning of the game. The Terran, oftentimes there were like 2 games where they didn't even have turrets up and just straight up like the mutas got into the production and takes out Marine after Marine, and it just gives him so much freedom in the early game. And like Targa said, he loves to press that drone button and he doesn't stop until he's like at like 86, 4 bases. You know, his creep spread is always amazing. Like Hydra, I think in this tournament has just been looking absolutely sick against Terran specifically.
Oh, okay, so Hart could be in for a little bit of trouble then if Hydra's on his game.
Yeah, perhaps, but I'm not sure if Fantasy made a Banshee as well against the
No, it was just like Marines and Hellbats.
Yeah, that he. I played against Hart in the qualifier, as I mentioned earlier, and against me he did the Marine thing, Marine Hellbat, one of the games, and then the 2 other games he did the Hellbat Banshee, and I think Hellbat Banshee is a bit better against Hydra. Because then you can target the queens, and the banshees will have free range of drones and so on of the units, and it's going to be quite interesting to see because it's like a clash of styles, I think. And Hart is also a very good mech player, and fast mutas sometimes work against mech, sometimes it fails horribly.
Well, we've got the vetoes up on screen now, and well, kind of what we've been seeing throughout really is the standard map.
You have to get rid of Secret Spring and Inferno Pools. You can't really Would you veto Inferno Pools against Terran, or would you take the chance at Cross?
I would actually veto Catalina, but for some reason Hart has vetoed Catalina. I'm not sure.
That makes no sense at all. Vetoing that as Terran. But yeah, that wing is also a kind of a funny map. If it's cross position, it's like almost unwinnable for Terran. But if it's vertical, then I think Terran has a pretty good chance.
Yep.
Overgrowth, actually, I think a pretty good map for Zerg. So it's really confusing why Hart would veto Catalina instead of Overgrowth, which he seems comfortable playing. Maybe that's where he likes to go mech, because it's a pretty good mech map. So reading into that a little bit, maybe expect mech on that map. And then Vani, I think, is a pretty neutral one. Most of the time you see it always played in a ZVT.
It's probably one of our most played matches throughout, really.
Yeah.
It's a decent mech map, and there are some weaknesses to playing mech on that map. It's quite easy for Zerg to counterattack, obviously. The map is huge, like you'll see Terran moving out. So usually when Terran moves out on that map, it's almost an all-in, I feel. Unless they want to play Super Turtle with Ravens and Battlecruisers. But no Koreans play that way, luckily for us.
You also have to make about 30 turrets in your natural on that map, or you will lose it to mutas, which happens in so many games as well.
Jesus, well, let's hope Hart is ready and prepared for that. We will be throwing over to Puri and the Muslim, ready for the game. Over to you guys.
And hello everyone, here we are getting ready for the next matchup. The players, I believe, are just getting set up. We saw Hart ripping the sellotape. I think he was sticking down his mouse mat so it didn't go flying across the table there. And yeah, it's going to be an exciting match, this is.
Yeah, I mean, it should be a really close match between these two guys. Hydra, he's a player that did play for CG Entus, then he moved to Root and moved to America. And we got to see a lot of Hydra recently.
Yeah,
play on absolutely every server, North America, Europe, doesn't matter. Latency, he's not bothered by it, and he seems to do exceptionally well. I know on Europe, the European ladder, which is the one that the Americans play on as well, he's rocking roughly an 80% win rate against all the best players in Europe. So absolutely solid he is.
Hydra's fantastic. He plays pretty much absolutely every single Gfinity Cup, every single one. He wins most of them, as you can imagine. Every now and then he does, lose randomly to some of the players, but he plays absolutely everything he can, and he's ridiculously good. Fair play to him.
Yeah, and Hart also, player from Axiom. A while ago, maybe a year and longer ago, he was very, very cheesy, very gimmicky. Yeah. But just in the last year, he's really started to round himself out. And as you just showed me, he actually made it to around 32 in GSL this season. So he's actually doing a lot better than he used to. And here, he's up against Hydra, so I'm looking very forward to it.
He did get like top 4 in WCS last year as well, didn't he?
North America? I believe so. And then he got eliminated by Bomber. But he is here in Gfinity.
All right, so as we jump into the first map, which is going to be Overgrowth, spawning down to the bottom left, representing Team Root Gaming, we have Hydra. And, of course, his opponent spawning up to the top right, last-minute replacement for mana, representing Team Axiom, we have the Blue Terran, Hart. And both these players are qualified players, so, both to kind of earn their the right to be here. And like, all fairness to Hart, he was like, I messaged like Oli Moly on Wednesday asking if he could show up, and we booked the hotel and everything last minute for him to get here, and he showed up, and he's been kicking some ass. He got first in his group, and like, this is going to be a hard match. I still can't tell exactly who is going to win, but nothing crazy coming out at the start of the game at least.
Well, in his initial group, he beat Jaedong very, very easily, and that was a big surprise for a lot of people. People really thought Jaedong was going to do very well that group, but Hart made him look easy. And then against Jackji as well, it was a tight series, but beating Jackji. So Hart's definitely coming on in a pretty strong form. Here, going for a Barracks, then a Refinery. Looks like he will be opting for a Reaper build early on. And Hydra, just going for the straight-up hatch. So far, so good by both these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's nothing to really give away to the build here. Like Reaper, you always want to get on a map like this. It's a straightforward map. Everyone kind of knows it, but you want to make sure that nothing non-standard is coming out.
This is one of the mech maps, or possible mech maps. Reason being, you can split the map totally in half. There are 6 bases on each side, and for Terran, that's very, very good for mech. Here, we have Hydra actually going for a very early pool with this hatch. Be that you can actually play much greedy and go for the 16, but you might be slightly worried about some possibility of cheese or 2 racks from Hart. Hart is known for being gimmicky, so Hydra just being a little bit safe with his build here.
Yeah, definitely. Like, Hydra's definitely going to feel like he's the better player here. So we feel like, I was saying to you earlier, like Hydra's an interesting player. He's a bit of a ballsy player, and he is a bit cocky with his play, and sometimes he feels like, yeah, I'm just going to win. And he does these things, and he just kind of throws them very randomly some games. So, like, I feel like once he makes sure everything's okay, nothing crazy is coming his way, he's just going to play a very standard game, and he believes he can take it in a much, much longer game. But are we going to get second Reaper? No, the Reactor does get added on there.
So going for a Reactor, this allows the Terran to make 2 Marines, or at least 2 Marines to deny scouting from that point on. Not actually harassing with this Reaper, and I don't believe he SCV scouted either. So he's just playing very, very careful. Reason being, with this Reactor producing, you don't have a second Reaper coming out. So if Lings do sneak around the map, they can cancel or kill your SCV building your natural, which slows it down immensely. So Hart here playing very safe, and I believe he knows what kind of build Hydra goes for. He goes for these builds with very fast Spire, really foregoes the Baneling Nest. So if he's going to just pile out a few Marines here, 2 by 2, and then get a lot of Hellbats, he could do a really hard push. And honestly, that is one of the weaknesses of Hydra's build.
It really is, like Target was just saying as well. Like, he doesn't see the Zerglings. You might see the second pair that just run past, so there he sees those, and we'll catch up with the other 4 as well. So that's 6 Zerglings. Of course, they could possibly still get the SCV, because those 2 turn around, so the other 4 headed towards the natural, but We'll see the SCV probably jump into the command center.
So here the Marines are going to try and fend off these Lings, and these Lings, they did not get there in time to deal too much damage. They stopped the SCV from mining, but so far so good for Hart. This build went as good as it possibly could for him. Only producing 2 Marines from the reactor, then switching it up, but he's still continuously producing Marines here. But a 3rd CC, this doesn't look like a straight up all in from him. This is still a macro-centric build.
Yeah, absolutely. He's still only on 1 gas right now, so it's not like he's going to maybe take that.
The armory, that definitely signals that he will be going Hellbats though, but the Ling's running into the natural here.
Okay, they're maybe going to get cancelled in the depot. The auto attack, they're going after the Marines as they start attacking them, and the SCV does stay alive. But that armory feels very early.
It is an early armory, but with the amount of Marines that he's making, the Hellions that he's pumping out, his army won't get too much better if he makes it much later. He's probably going to go when he gets about 6 Hellions, and maybe he's just going to go for a cancel on this 3rd.
Yeah.
It's a decently timed 3rd, actually. Like at the 6-minute mark, Hydra, you tend to find that you might go it much later. Here, just relying on 1 gas for now, despite making the lair. So a spine crawler is being made. Those Lings running in and dealing a little bit of damage, or trying to. Despite losing the Lings, you may say, oh, that's a terrible trade for Hydra. He got to see that Hart actually had a 3rd Marine there, which is really, really telling. Why would a Terran have 3 Marines at this point in time? Well, he's not getting stim. It's not a tech lab barracks. He's just going to get ready to push you. So Hydra making very, very smart decisions here.
Yeah, that actually caps him. Another overload does pop, so you can have some free supply. Of course, there is no medevac with this either, so there's no healing power for the Hellbats or the Marines, but that is still a little bit hard to deal with. The Queen's turning around as they realize they can't actually engage into that without any support, and there's only a couple of Zerglings in production, so...
Hydra has to cancel this, yeah. This is a really good start for Hart. Like, we look at the work accounts, 44 to 34. There's no baneliness. He's making a lot of Lings, and is Hart going to commit? He doesn't have to. He cancelled the 3rd, so he's in really good shape. He's got his own 3rd CC. Right now, if he just gets some engineering bays up, a few extra barracks, he's going to be looking very, very pretty this game. And yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. So Hart, he's got a very good hold of the situation that he's in.
Yeah, absolutely. We did see the spy again added on right there. It's only a 2-base build so far, so this could maybe surprise me. Of course, Hydra did do this against Fantasy, and I believe that did catch him off guard a little bit. So could see possibly the same thing here, but Hart's getting a chunk of units, and he didn't lose any units with that attack, but the Zerglings are going for a big run by around the right as the Queen tried to zone out the Reaper Hellions. And this could actually be a little bit scary, but the units might come back just in the nick of time.
Does have a wall, but the depot is lowered and the Lings do get in there. So those Marines very, very vulnerable, but Hart gets a nice little nook there in between the minerals, so denying the damage that could be done. But still losing a lot of SCVs here. This is not good for Hart, and leaving that depot down, that's a mistake that you can't really get away with at this
Another
level
SCV will fall in the end. That was also about 6 or 7 Marines there, so that's actually quite good. And in the meantime, of course, Hart doesn't pressure because he has to bring those units back. So that gives Hydra a little bit of breathing room. And he is trying to retake his 3rd base now, but the mutas are beginning production. So this should be able to clean up the Hellions, and that will allow him to secure his 3rd base pretty easily.
Having drones over here, though, without creep spread being here, this is mighty gnarly, and that's a lot of Hellions to deal with. While he does run away from these Queens, yeah, I was about to say, I wouldn't be surprised if he just switches into Hellbats and goes for the kill again.
Like, there's 9 meters in production. I think it was 6 and then another 3, so like, that should be enough to fend this off. But how many Queens will he lose? A Transfuse keeps the first Queen alive. The next one will stay alive as well. Good Transfuse there, and the Spine Crawler is adding a lot of extra DPS. And it looks like everything might survive.
It doesn't look like he's losing anything, so a really good hold by Hydra here. Now we look at the supply. It's 95 to 64. Hydra, again, just little ways to get back into this game, despite having a kind of bad opening because he got his 3rd cancelled.
Yeah.
He's just managing to find ways to get back into this. And now, 67 workers. He's on 3 bases against a 52 harvested Terran.
Gets the add-on there.
Hydra's build, it's just very, very good despite having his 3rd cancelled. It's unreal what he can do with this.
Yeah, and in the meantime, like, Hart hasn't taken his own 3rd base, so you can tell that he's feeling very threatened, because normally you see them get taken the 3rd base about 9.5 minutes, and he hasn't even killed the Overlord at that 3rd base, so that's going to slow it down.
Oh, this is a really big mistake, though, from Hydra. Stacking up his upgrades on a single Evo rather than getting them both on the 2 Evos. So that's going to put him even further behind, because with this build, you get late Evos because you rely on getting out fast mutas. So the fact he's doing that, he's going to fall really far behind in upgrades. And we see that Hart's even getting +2/+2. So he could potentially be +2/2 Marines against 1/0 Ling Baneling, which is terrible.
Absolutely. And of course, on top of that, the Terran will always get that 3/3 normally before the Zerg as well, which is where they take a big lead. And his Hive is pretty far away right now. He does have Baneling speed in production, so that does give them a little bit of mobility here. And that command center took a lot of damage as it went to take the base.
Good creep spread by Hydra, all down the left side of the map. It's really lacking on the right side, though, which is where he's taken his 4th base. So I'm a little surprised that it is so bad over here, but he did get his 3rd cancelled so early. So this is just one of the other effects of cancelling that 3rd. The creep spread is just lacking. So Hydra now, 74 workers.
Okay, he
against 60.
realizes.
And yeah, he does realize, but that's a really big mistake. The Terran already a 1/3 of the way through that 2-2 upgrades, and that's going to be a big, big, big defining factor in this game.
That is huge, of course. Like, you know, 2-2 Marines, of course, with the Medivacs just deal so much damage, and a couple of Zerglings maybe morph into a Banelings there and attack that 3rd base, but Hart, he has somewhat of a scary force right now. He has the Medivacs, and those upgrades are definitely very scary right now for Hydra.
Look how Hydra's splitting up his links, by the way. He's got them based at the possible 4th of Heart, and on the right side, so just, this is really nice. Is there a bunker? There is a bunker.
No Marines.
But if you run those Banelings, and he's going to try and distract him here. Look at the Lings in the natural. He's taking a fight here.
Triple
this
threat.
is really nice.
10 workers. The natural is also going to get ravaged as well. There is a bunker which does add in some extra defense, but of course he starts target firing the SCVs, and that's another 15 kills for Hydra.
Really cute play by Hydra. He took a fight that you knew he was going to lose in the middle, but there was a reason behind it, because he wanted to deal damage elsewhere. The fight in the middle, that was just a distraction, and it worked out surprisingly well. 86 workers, that number that Rhett talked about in the analyst room. This is exactly what Hydra is at right now, and he's going to work with it. There's a lot of Banelings on the field. Despite being behind in upgrades, Banelings don't care about upgrades, so it's looking good. And now that creep spread on the right side that was lacking a minute ago, it's there now. It is there.
Absolutely, and once Baneling speed finishes, of course, they're so much faster on creep as well, so you have to be very careful about taking engagement as the Terran. The Mutas have to be careful. Good reactions there from Hydra, and there is a Widowmine which doesn't connect, so that could have been a little bit dangerous there.
Now, this drop over to the left side, this could potentially deal damage, and this is what Hart wants. He wants to distract his opponent, gets a drop in his main, and then dealing damage to the right side of the map. It's very hard to attack as a Terran on this map, because creep spread can get absolutely everywhere, and trying to commit into attacking, but look at Hydra. He's left units behind to deal with that drop. Sees it on the left side of the map anyway, and now what's this? So still, Muta's trying to pick off reinforcements here. A huge, huge flood of Banelings here trying to attack Hart.
Nice pick up there, but the Mutas come in. They nearly get them out. In fact, units do get deployed there to just about fend off, but this drop in the main, how much damage will it do? It looks like the Banelings will clean that up pretty fast. Banelings rolling into the army by themselves, get a little bit of it, but not exactly the trade that Hydra would have wanted there.
Hydra actually cleared up a lot of the Widowmines with those Banelings. As you see, the Widowmine count, it's at 2 here. So those are what Hart needs. And right now, big hit of the Widowmine, though, annihilating a lot of those Banelings. And it's 2-2 against 1-1 here. This is really, really bad for Hydra.
That was not so good there. A lot of the Mutas did also get sniped. The drop still been a little bit distracting, but it's not really much of a threat. But Hydra has to defend this attack. A lot of the army is hit. The Medivacs still have much.
Minerals. He's at 2,000 minerals almost.
Both the Evos get sniped. Both the Evos get sniped. That's going to cancel the upgrades. We have 3-3 in production. The supply of Heart is skyrocketing. The Bane is coming from the right-hand side. Get some decent connections, but will they be able to clean all of this up? That's not a cost-efficient trade on top of that anyway for Hydra. It does get cleaned up,
He just needs to clear it up, though. Look at his work account. It's still really high, 71. So he did lose 14 drones, but he just needs to clear this army away from himself. He still has a huge bank of 1,700 minerals. Why hasn't he been making units?
What's his lava count at? He's only down to 3, so he's been a bit distracted dealing with the drops and the actual attacks, so he hasn't been dropping his injects, and he is up to 4 hatcheries, so maybe add on an extra macro hatch. There's a queen down there. There's a nice macro hatch as well, so that could be injected. There we are, as he does realize. So give him a moment, the injects will start to add up, and he is also getting +2 flyer attack, but the 3-3 of the Terran is going to get very scary for him.
Luckily, he's got to 2-2 now with his Ling Baneling, or at least he's close to it, so that's going to help him.
Didn't the Evos get cancelled?
They got cancelled?
He killed the Evos.
So he's only at 1-1 right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
+2, +1, but the armor is actually more important at this point in time. Just keeps those Lings alive for longer while the Banelings and Mutas deal damage.
Yeah, so a couple of Mutas taking a little bit of damage. They pick off the Marines. Of course, they're pretty fast away, so they do escape pretty easily there. And Hydra is back in the lead in supply, but still not a massive advantage. Like, if you could translate those minerals or those resources into actual units, that would definitely benefit him right now. And there's even a Thor in the mix here for Hart.
Hydra's macro is really lacking. Like, he's got so high minerals, he's supply blocked. He only just started his Overlord, so just a bit off this game, but maybe that's just because of the pressure that Hart's applying here, because flies the Mutas into the army, losing a couple of them. These are mistakes that you can't make.
Absolutely. Of course, Mutas, they're very expensive units, but they're absolutely brittle, so they just get vaporized by the bullets. And that command center could get taken out by this bust. It doesn't.
Definitely could. And Heart, I don't see any fourth CC in the making. Oh, really nice split here with the Banes. But is it going to...
No.
Oh, takes out the bunker. The SCVs do evacuate. The CC is very low, but Heart dealt with that very nicely. But the supply, now Hydra's macroing. 60-odd lings in production were there. So, man, his army, now it's getting huge. And only against 58 workers, Heart, without a fourth base in sight or anytime soon, it's now looking pretty good for Hydra all of a sudden.
Yeah, but 3-3 is about to finish up, and the Carapace is less than halfway done. So it's going to be 3-3 v 2-1, which is not going to look very good for Hydra. But he does get pretty good engagement before the Widowmines can connect. The Thor is at the front, and that gets picked off. How many Banelings are left? Can they connect with the Marines?
Oh, he's really, really pushing Heart here. And for every unit that Hydra loses, and he is retreating, so Heart takes a nice bit of a battle there. But he lost all his stocky units. Lots of his Thors down, his Widowmines down. And Hydra, 66 lings in production, 14. Oh, great Widowmine.
And Hydra did try to dodge that, but the last second it does connect. So that command center should stay alive.
Now, Hydra's really, really flooding in lings and banelings here. And if he cleans up this army, he'll be looking in great shape. The main base is mined out from Heart. So this great splits from Heart, though. Really avoiding all those banelings. But is it enough? There's so much of Hydra right now in his face.
Yeah, the army supplies are in Heart's favor. He doesn't really have much of a, a fourth base. So.
GG, wow,
GG.
What a close game. But Hydra managing to pull through there. So having so many minerals to spend, looked like it was going against him for a long time, but finally, and there, a cheeky smile from him.
Yeah, he knows that was quite close there. Like, the upgrades were just borderline nearly pushing that into Heart's favor. And also, like, he didn't take a fourth base, so he was pretty much all in at that point. His main, like you said, was mined out, so his economy was starting to starve out.
I'm a little bit worried for Hydra, or I was very worried for Hydra, but just at the end there, he really seemed to like kick into gear again, because when you're sat at around 178 supply as a Zerg, and you've got 2,000 minerals to spend and your supply blocked and such, when you watch Hydra play, he's one of the most fluid macro players you've ever seen. Like, if you watch him play visually as well on the keyboard, spider hands. Like, he's a very, very magnificent macro player.
I'll check him out later.
So the fact that he was just failing on just basic things there, I was very worried, but he managed to find himself, collect himself in Heart. He tried to do one drop that game, did nothing.
Yeah, that was...
And like, one of the most beautiful things that Hydra did that game too was the Ling setup. And then distracting me in the fight in the middle. It's just very, very good play by him. Very clean play. And Heart, I mean, it was relatively close, but if Hydra just manages to keep in Gear 5 the whole game, Heart's going to have a real problem. So, and these maps don't get any easier. The fact that he vetoed Catalina...
Yeah, I was about to say.
That's one of the best Terran maps you have against Zerg. So Varney and like, if it gets to Deadwing, that's a terrible map against Zerg. And Hydra, with his 3-base muta style, defending on Deadwing, it's very, very easy. So this doesn't get easier for Heart.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, also, when he did go for that single drop, he did kind of like fly it over creep. So he's just like, hey, Hydra, like, I'm coming to attack.
Creep was everywhere.
Exactly. So, but he could have maybe flown around the edge, or like, if he had gone all the way around, they wouldn't have got scouted. But there were units already there, so. But I would have liked to see more drops, definitely at some point.
Like, I'm thinking, what can Heart really do against Hydra? Like, he had the good build against him. He cancelled the third. But then there was no real pressure after it. Yes, he had 8 Hellions on the map with a single Reaper. But he didn't really do anything. He kind of waited until those mutas were out.
Yeah.
And realistically, if you're against a player that's not making Banelings, and you know he's not making Banelings, I feel that really committing against those 3 Queens, because he forced the 20 Lings out or so, but there was a real time window where he could have attacked before the mutas were out. There were only 20 Lings on the field and roughly 4 Queens. And with 8 Hellbats, you can really punish them.
Yeah, that was interesting, because he cancels the third and just pretty much heads back home. He's like, I'm done here. While he had enough units to justify probably going in a little bit deeper. But we are going to jump into game number 2 here. Spawning down at the 6 o'clock position, representing Team Axiom. He has to win this game to stay in the series and the tournament. It's Heart. And of course, his opponent, representing Team Root Gaming, going to be quite comfortable now jumping into game number 2 with the 1-0 lead. It is Root Hydra. And do you think he's going to go for the hatchery outside or inside?
Inside.
I love it outside, man.
One of the beautiful things about this map, so this is one of the newer maps in the map pool right now, but you start off with a very safe natural in the back of your base. So this immediately means that this is more of a macro-centric map. It's safe, it allows the game to get going very, very easily. So depending on what Heart actually chooses to do, as Zerg almost always open up for 15 hatch. And it looks like Heart will be going for a CC first. So here, we're going to be seeing a very, very well, the most greedy builds that both these guys can possibly do. But what they do after that will really define how this game goes.
Absolutely. There is also the mindset that because it's an in-base expansion, you can play very greedy. People abuse that and play very greedy, very cheesy and go for a very fast all-in. Like in PvT, I've seen a lot of factories get built outside the natural and lifted off and flown into it, and then just Widow Mines kill everything.
Certainly. Hydra here going up to 16 supply before he even thinks about making his pool. Now, this is much less safe than the game prior, but that is just because of how the map works. It's less viable to go for early game aggression. Here, Heart. So we see the CC. This is a very late barracks, by the way. Usually Terrans go for their barracks at 15 supply. So this, I'm a little concerned about his build. It just doesn't seem as efficient as it should be. But we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, because of course you always want the barracks to finish up just after the command center so you can move your double orbital straight away. So
usually the barracks finishes around 18 supply, and then you can build a marine, and then you can also get the orbital command with that while you're like not able to build anything else. So here goes for a gas, but everything's late. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a really fast third CC against Hydra here, and that would be a pretty smart play, to be honest. So his barracks is later, his gas is later. Why, you may ask? Well, I really think we're going to see a really fast third CC, and if you got to see Morrow against Hydra, Morrow actually managed to defeat Hydra on this map with an exceptionally greedy build. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, and of course, if anyone's wondering, of course, he's not going to go for a Reaper opening now that there's the command center first, because, of course, by the time the Reaper would get there, sometimes Zergling's speed is close to being completed, and the Reaper doesn't justify itself. So he's going to skip that, normally go straight to Reactor Factory and produce those Hellions for early game aggression.
Okay, so we just saw there, as our observer indicated, that he kind of started speed, then cancelled speed, then starts it again. So just wanted to whip out as many drones as he possibly could there. I think he, with his Overlord, he got to see, my opponent's not going Reaper. I don't need to get out that speed quite as early as I would normally, and I can just kind of forego the speed by a little bit and get out drones a little bit faster. So this game is really, really a game of little things just making the biggest deal. So trying to get out as many drones as possible, given that he knows he is safe.
Yeah, so that Queen coming out for a little nose there, just in case, I guess, maybe an SCV's chilling. Of course, I believe I said this to you yesterday.
That third CC is going up, Huey, so a very greedy build by Heart.
And it's in the wall, is it?
No, so down a little bit lower to the left here.
Okay, so that was the factory there. So that could still get somewhat scouted. The Overlord is on the right-hand side between the natural and the main, so that one won't. But if some Zerglings poke their nose up, they could maybe see it.
Hydra's a player that his style is really set in stone.
Yeah.
He'll be getting his third base, he'll be going for that Spire. So this kind of play, this is really, really good against Hydra. You don't, well, he's most likely not going to Baneling bust you anytime soon. So if you can get into that late game with a slight edge over your opponent, given that you know how Hydra's going to play, because he's very predictable, it's very, very smart. So I feel that Heart, his brain is in the right place here for sure.
All right, so there's the Starport incoming, and we can have maybe a Hellion drop, or is it going to be a Hellbat time in with Medivacs for heal?
Against Hydra?
21.
Oh, he does see the third CC, and he sees it's very early.
Doesn't
also
see the second gas, though. Which is
no, he doesn't.
Nice.
But the fact that he sees the Starport there, doesn't get to see the Tech Lab morphing, but the Starport almost always indicates a Banshee, especially from a player like Heart. So, and always, every build that Heart does, he has to take into account, hey, my opponent's not going to have Banelings for quite a while. What can I do with that? And honestly, Hellbats are the best answer.
Yeah, of course.
But a Viking. So he almost wanted that Tech Lab to get scouted by those Lings there and make force him to make spores at the possibility of Banshees, which Hydra will probably have to do anyway, or at least Overseers. But
there's the help.
Yeah.
There's the Armory incoming in second, sorry, a third and fourth gas as well at the natural for
looks
Heart.
like mech.
Yeah.
Given that you're not making any barracks before those third and fourth gases, usually the way that Terran is played, you get 2 gases, 2 barracks, then you add on 2 engineering bays, and then you add on your third and fourth gas. But the fact that the Armory is as early as it is, that could mean just Hellbats, but the fact those gases are added when they were added, yeah, this is going to be mech, guys.
Yeah, and his economy is looking very good. It's 45 v50. Of course, with the mills, it does give him a slight economic advantage. Of course, give it a moment, and Hydra's better saturation should kick in as well. But, okay, there's the eBay, like you pointed out.
Very safe play. So getting this eBay because he is worried about the potential of mutas, which
mad.
everybody knows Hydra's going to make. And now Hydra gets a very, very early read.
Scout. He sees the double factory in production. You know it's mech when you see more than one factory, so that's a nice scout.
Oh, just lifting up that orbital,
Yeah.
planting him again. But this, yeah, this is very nice. Against mech, you want to know that you're playing against mech ASAP.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the fact that he didn't make a Baneling nest actually goes for Hydra. Banelings are pretty useless against mech, unless you're against pure Thor, and then Banelings are actually okay against it if they hit more than 3 at a time, but very unlikely. But here, going for Roaches. He's going to have Mutas because it's just nice for map control. Eliminating that fresh Mule there, it's a nice little pick-off. So just making the most of little units here is Hydra.
Yeah, and it's kind of like a threat as well, because like there were so many Hellions, and Hydra's like, I can still do damage when there's that many units next to you. Okay, that's a lot of Hellions, and of course they might be coming into Hellbats quite soon, so that's a massive threat here against the Queens. And the Mutas are in production, so that should be able to defend, but a couple of seconds will get into the third base yet again, and the units starting to walk away, and Hart doesn't turn them around, so a couple of SUVs will fall. There's 5, 6.
Oh man, he's really not cleaning this up. I felt Hart was in a really good position. He left those 2 Hellbats behind. I was like, wow, that's very smart of Hart to have those units in position for this possible run by, but he just lost 9 SUVs to 6 Lings.
And he might even get another one. There's 10, maybe 11 as well as the SUV is there. And it does survive. But the Mutas are flying towards that, and there is just 1 turret. But of course, maybe one of the gas guys is a little bit exposed there.
One of the unfortunate things about this map is how far away the gases are from the center of that mineral line in here. Just picking off 5 SUVs again with these Mutas. And, ooh, is this Viking going to spike the dust too? Oh, a Thor on the field. 2 Thors on the field. Wow. This signals aggression. Very early aggression from Hart.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Of course, we have the Roaches in production, which they're okay against mech. That's, you know, they're quite fast. They can run up. They're quite cheap. There's a lot of them, so it's a big spread. And he is going down the left-hand side, so maybe he wants to wait until some units move out and go for a counterattack.
I'm loving Hydra's play here. The only thing that I would highly recommend is a 4th base a little bit earlier.
Yeah,
but the fact that he's pumping out so many Roaches, he's really reading Hart here. The fact that Thors are being added so early, and quite a number of them, despite the Muta count being very low, he's not going to have any tanks. And with this amount of Roaches, he could really just kill Hart right now.
Oh my god, the Roaches are coming up. The 2 Thors are here. There are some Widow Mines, but they're not burrowing. Yes, now they are. And the Vikings do land just to add in some extra DPS, but there's only 2 Thors left. And there's even 1 Muta, which might trigger the auto attack onto it. And there it goes from the Thor, but that's like all he has. He has loads of Hellions, which I think are coming back, but they're getting caught out.
This is an overwhelming amount of Roaches right now. Hart even scans the 3rd base. It's like,
GG.
wow, that's fully saturated. And now the Roaches are just flooding into the main. It's 164 supply against 81. Just absolutely overwhelming Hart right now.
SUVs are forced to fire. Another Thor does get produced. A tank is in production a few seconds away, and there is a Banshee which will be able to clean all of this up. But how much damage will be done before then?
I don't think he will be able to clean all this up. I mean, there's too many Roaches right now. There's a tank sieging here, but it's going to get instantly popped down by these Roaches. And these Roaches, they're just flooding in. 62 workers against 21, and that number is still decreasing.
46 in total. SUVs, the fighting Roaches at the natural, they will survive, but
look at all this red still coming out across the map, Huey.
It's
38 supply. GG is called. Hydra takes a decisive game 2 and the series.
Very decisive series.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Yeah, well, he gets into the prize money now, so he's going to be very happy with that.
Hydra made that look easy, and he really did.
And he plays the winner of Rogue v True, so that is going to be a ZVZ lined up. Rogue is going to be a very hard opponent, which I think
both of those guys are going to be hard. So, but I mean, Rogue, he's one of the best circles on the planet right now. They were actually former teammates as well. But just to talk about that game, like what allowed Hydra to win that so easily? Well, he identified it was mech very early.
Yeah.
He saw it was 2 Thors, which signals, well, there's no tanks because you're producing Thors instead, but also signals an early 2-2 timing push for a Terran. So the fact that he was just said to himself, hey, I've made like 5-6 Muta, I didn't go Baneling Nest, I'm going to flood all my resources on Roaches. He stopped roughly at 65 drones, didn't go for a 4th base, and just pumped out Roaches and then just annihilated Hart. So really good decision-making by Hydra in that game.
It also comes into play, like most of the time we're always like, oh, Roaches, they're so cheap, so cost efficient, they're not useful. But because they're so cheap and useful, he had so many of them, he was just able to overwhelm his opponent. And I believe the analysts are ready. They're going to give us a little bit of in-depth analysis on that, of course. Can't wait to see what they say.
Thank you, Puri. Thank you, the Muslim. 2-0, all in favour of Hydra right now. Let's start with you, Saga, because you had a lot to say previously on that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed by Hart. Man, 2 rookie mistakes, 1 each game. First game, he forgot to leave his depot. Many Lings came in, killed a lot of SUVs. Second game, he brings his Hellbats out. He knows that there are links. He saw the links, I think. Hydra sends a few of them in first. He was hiding the rest of them behind the, kind of like in the woods or whatever you want to call it. He sees that Hart sends out the Hellions. He sends out everything else as well. Probably click this F2 button, select all army. And then Hydra just moves in with links again and kills how many SCVs?
7 or 8. 7 or 8, I think.
7 or 8. And that's actually game ending when you're playing mech in that situation. And yeah, like Hydra's play was just like straightforward. Like just as I said, he's gonna go for fast mutas, get out a lot of queens, be safe against the potential Hellbat Banshee timings and stuff. And he saw the opportunity to just end the game with roaches, and he did it perfect.
Hydra just looks so strong.
Yeah, he's kind of been killing Terrence all tournament already, and he just keeps it up. He just destroyed Hart in that game. I thought the decision to play Bio on Overgrowth was kind of weird. I feel like on Catalina, it might have gone a lot better. We saw that game was a little bit more than just the lower depot. Like losing a lot of SCVs really hurt him in the beginning of the game, but he did get a big army.
Yeah, but it also like kind of changes your mentality. Like he never took a fourth base. Like
he was like going full euthermal.
Yeah, he was like, it's kind of weird to say it, but it's like a 3 base, 3-3 all in. Like he doesn't want to play a long game. That's it.
We
So
kind
he
of
was
saw
forced to commit, basically.
Yeah.
He was committing very hard, and we saw the problem kind of with the map layout, because normally Terran wants to attack the fourth base, which was the bottom right.
Yeah.
But if you go there, you just get slammed against the wall with banelings from both sides. So he had to go through the middle, but as a result, he was always on creep with his whole army.
Yeah.
So even though the first few fights looked pretty nice for him, and he was doing actually a really nice job splitting his bio and microing, as soon as the reinforcements from the larva came, he was fully on creep, and there was just Ling Bane from every side. And on creep, you're just not going to be able to keep it up.
No.
Especially without a fourth base. So I think that map just overall is not really good for bio. So I think Mech would have been better on that one. But yeah, in the second game, it's just kind of a shame. It never really started the way that Hart wanted it to be. Like he wanted to go for a massive Mech game. And if you lose 7 workers, and Hydra just stayed really low drone count, instantly pumped a lot of roaches. There were no banshees or anything. So then you just die right away. So a little disappointing from Hart. I have to agree with Targa as well.
Yeah, I guess we all expected just a little bit more from that game, and it kind of just looked very one-sided.
Yeah, Hart looked like he didn't have a chance. Also a bit of a shame that it's not best of 5, because it's over so fast.
Yeah.
And you want to see more, because you know Hart can do better. He played great.
Oh yeah,
great
you got
yesterday.
time for revenge almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Maybe next Gfinity already in 1.5 months.
Yeah, we'll push the best of 5 from this part onwards. We've got the bracket up on the screen right now. It's currently 1-0 to Rogue against True. How do you guys think that's going to finish up? Because obviously the winner of that match is going to be going against Hydra, and we've already got the first semi of Parting versus Rain, which I believe we'll be seeing next.
Well, Rogue is the obvious answer. If he beats True, then I think he'll probably beat Hydra. I'm not too sure how much Rogue knows about Hydra. I feel like his Hydra's CVC is a bit predictable as well.
Okay.
He likes to play gasless. He's quite good at gasless. And he plays some Ling Baning on some of the maps as well. But it's usually like he wants to go into the 2-2, Roach, Baneling, big attack. I very rarely see him go for the Roach, Hydra Infestor play. Rogue was doing the same thing yesterday, but he looked godlike with everything perfect. Creep spread, larva injects. Everything was just, as I said, perfect.
Well, we're going to take a quick 3-minute break. We're going to have Hydra in for a quick interview with us, and then we'll be back for the game between Parting and Rain that I know you guys are excited for, and it's going to be our first best of 5, and that's where we're going to see some real action kick off. So don't go anywhere, guys. The interview of Hydra is coming right up.